When I first got here, all the land at this place looked like this. As time's gone on, I've managed to spread water and fertility, and it's now looking like that, with a lot more green plant matter, grasses, shrubs and things over the last 30 years. All this area used to be bare dirt, and it has now very much covered in plant matter. I started to put a few windroads in where the timber can rot down over time, slowing water flowing over the surface, and now I've got a lot of green coming through. When you have stinging nettles, that the ground is well balanced and the soil has improved. So as you can see, I have patches of stinging nettles. I have been doing various experiments over the last few years trying to improve the soil and get more plant matter growing here, as the soil is very poor, just granite, sand and white clay. I now have brown sand, even dirt, and some worms, witchy grubs and slaters in the ground. So I'm pretty impressed overall with what's occurred. The following clips should give you an idea of what I've been experimenting with. Yesterday we had 14 millimetres of rain, which has allowed the creek to start to flow, and I have dug this trench a little deeper than what it was, which is now flowing into my veggie patch and is now flood irrigating my veggie patch. So I think this experiment is starting to work well. I deep ripped the ground here and then put worm hit, which is worm casting pellets, onto the deep rip, and then I just allowed the rain to wash it into the ground, which seems to have improved the soil in those slits quite well. I'm just now awaiting to see if the plant matter grows better along this cut or on the untested section. I'm putting boards across the landscape with pins in it to reduce the water flow and catch mulch. I haven't had them in long, but they are starting to appear to work. Many years ago we put this layer of rocks down because as we walked in and out of the front yard we were getting eaten alive by sand lice. So we laid it on fairly thick, and as you can see the dirt developed under the rocks and through the rocks. So this used to be just sand, now it's nice brown soil. So rocks are a good way of mulching as well. Here is another sample of a section of dirt that is only now starting to become covered, or plant matter is starting to come through. Hopefully by the end of this year that will be covered as well. I must be doing something right. The wild pigs have been coming in, digging up the ground and finding something to eat and turning over my dirt. I've always been fascinated with how we can improve nature, and so I've read a lot of books. P.A. Yeoman was keyline farming, another one was natural sequence farming by Peter Andrews, a lot of permaculture ones, and a lot of YouTubes. on different people in different countries. Africa uses horseshoes, India uses terracing on the mountains, America's trying to convert some of their desert into farmland. A lot of places trying different things. They all seem to be doing the same kind of thing, and that is getting water to stay in the landscape, stop the erosion, because if you take the energy out of the water you don't get the erosion, having it soak in, then adding fertility, which then encourages microbes to grow, which then improves the soil. These windrows that I've put in have been built and rotted down twice. They were about 2 metres high, with just leftover branches, offcuts from other people. It was good enough for a while for the finches and small birds to use them as nesting areas, but they've since then dropped down a fair way. This rotting down has added fertility to the ground, as well as slowing water that is passing through here. At times, if we get a big storm, the creek can be 30 to 50 metres wide, and a lot of this windrows catch that water, slow it down, drop the silt out of it, and helps build the soil. If you take the velocity out of the water, it reduces the erosion effect on the ground. Trickling water is good, rushing water chews out the ground. The frogs are starting to lay eggs through this scrub now, and it gets very noisy through here when they get into full swing. All this area used to be just dirt. Now I have plenty of plant matter covering the soil. I'm getting more and more frog eggs, as you can see. In the tropical areas, many of the farmers put frog ponds in the middle of their veggie patches, so that during the peak insect time, which is when they eat all their food, the frogs actually eat the insects and reduce their pest problem by quite a large percentage. This has been in for a little while, needs a bit of TLC, but I do have frogs in it, and they seem to be thriving. Recently I've been getting a lot of these small mushrooms growing, which is good because that is mycelium in the ground, and the mushrooms are just its fruit. The more mycelium, the better the plants like it. As you can see here, is that as the plants come to the end of their normal life cycle, they die and lay down on top of the dirt, which now is adding compost to the surface of the dirt, which is now allowing more plant matter to mingle with the dirt and hopefully produce much better soil.